Hello guys, it's Yodi here with a small Demon Hunter video in which I will show you how to get 43 and 44 keys solo on a constant basis or even higher from the trial depending on what gear you have at your disposal. This is post-patch 2.1.1 by the way. Of course, this is easier with a group, but at times it can be hard finding people that want this level of keys, since they might want to progress in the group ladders, so they'll most likely be looking at 47 plus keys, whereas for solo, this level of keys might be too high for them depending on their class. You can jump straight into what you're interested in seeing, be it the gear and gems with some follower information, the build, and some of the actual trials with tips on positioning and other things. Starting off with the gear, you'll be looking at 5-piece Mara with Ring of Royal Grandeur, Taskers, and Atreyu. This would be preferred by the way at 2.84 breakpoint or your best two-hand crossbow at 2.16. With the obvious out of the way, let's check what other options we have available. First, you don't really care about toughness for this, since you shouldn't get hit unless you'll do it wrong. I'll explain later on why. You'll want skill damage on your head and boots, cluster arrow for example, cooldown reduction on your shoulders, and cooldown reduction gem in your helmet, full dex gems, as well as full damage stats in your paragon points. No vitality for example in the first tree, just full dex. You'll be using Ring of Royal Grandeur in all combinations. As for the other jewelry you have at your disposal, a good combo is the Traveler's Pledge Amulet with the Compass Rose Ring, both socketed, and only if you really have good stats on both, such as Dexterity crit damage and crit chance on the amulet, and Ring with average damage, Dexterity, crit chance, and crit damage. Sadly, I don't have them, but this combo will boost your damage a lot. Remember, any elite damage bonus is useless in the trials, since there's no elites, so get rid of that Stone of Jordan or Bane of the Powerful gem. Another option here would be the Hellfire Amulet with any good DPS passive, so you can run 5 DPS passives in total. You could combine Call the Weak, Ballistics, Steady Aim, and Custom Engineering with any of the other ones such as Ambush, Single Out, or Archery. For your bracers, you'll want to go with the Trag'Oul coils, which will allow you to reset your Wolf cooldown when needed on the later waves by simply clicking on the health pool. As for gems, you'll be using the Enforcer, Bane of the Trapped, and Zay's Stone of Vengeance. The follower I prefer for this is the Enchantress, for her multiple damaging skills as well as some CC. You should equip her with the Relic, which gives her access to all the skills, as well as an Azurath and an S of Johan Amulet for pulling mobs together. Some nice rings to put on her would be anything with a high attack speed, like for example the Oculus ring, to increase her number of attacks as much as possible. The build you'll be using for this is pretty much straightforward. It's the usual cold rocket build. Only difference is of course using Mark for Death with Contagion or Caltrops with Bait Trap instead of Volt with Tumble, and the passives, for example removing awareness if you got a DPS passive Hellfire Amulet in favor of a 5th DPS passive. Not the case for me though. Generally, I found the Caltrops to work better than Mark for Death, simply because you'll have the damage buff up all the time, whereas for Mark for Death to go into effect you will need to kill something. Of course, you will be using it on the lowest HP mobs so it spreads as fast as possible. Problem being on the later waves, some mobs will have a ton of HP. Okay, so on to the actual trial refs then. You'll want to place your sentries here on the left of the crevice inside the trial reft. This way you can take almost full advantage of Zays at all times, having them so far away from the mobs. You can place 2-3 sentries slightly lower than that, but I like having them here so they can also reach any stranded mobs in the middle. As long as you stand on the lower right side of the map, the mobs will always come to you through the right side, creating a really good choke point. Remember that mobs will always run back to the middle even without attacking if they go too far close to the edge of the map, so you'll be sitting in a safe point down here for most of the time. However, mobs like Winged Assassins and Lacuni Huntresses that jump on your head will still kill you with the first attack, so you'll want to be mobile the whole time to avoid that. Same with Unholy Thrall charges. If you have an Exorcist teleport on you while standing down there, there's no need to panic, since he will run back to the middle ASAP without doing any attack. About Caltrops, you'll want to have them spread out covering an area you'll be running around to avoid the aforementioned attacks. Keep in mind though, if any mob procs your Caltrops, you will need to redeploy them. About cooldowns, you'll want to save the Double Wolf with the help of your bracers at any of the 43 or 44 plus waves that will contain Dune Dervishes or Golgors. Those have an awful lot of HP, the former deflecting your attacks as well when spinning. Now, there will be 3 problematic waves. The one with the Dune Dervishes, there's almost always one that will be a bit higher than the rest and won't aggro if you're just sitting at the bottom of the map. Try to run a bit to the left and up to shoot it with something so it comes down, but only after the wave started and mobs are already on the right side of the crevice, so you don't have any coming the left way. The Lakuni Huntresses, sometimes one can bug out and stay buried even if you're in aggro range. You'll almost have to walk on top of the spot it's buried in to make it come up. Golgors are also a big problem. They have a ton of HP and most likely if it's a high wave and you don't have double wolf available, you will fail it. Well, that's about it guys. This was the information I wanted to share with you and hope it will help you get some better keys for your solo attempts. I'll see you next time.